What's going on, everyone? Mitch from RespectMyRegion.com. We're coming back with another episode of the RMR Podcast today, joined by special guest Louie Esquivel of CalGreen Medical. How are you doing today, Louie?
Another day in Paris. Excellent day out here, Mitch.
You dealing with that California sunshine? I see it beaming through the window.
Oh yeah, see that shine all day. Got that good vitamin D.
All right, man. Well, before we get into too much, I kick off every episode asking our guests kind of their origin story with the plant being cannabis, whether that's personal, professional, or a little bit of both, man. Whatever you choose to be vulnerable and sharing. Just curious kind of when you and cannabis began your relationship with one another.
Well, smoking, I started when I was about 15 years old with my cousin. I tell him every day, like, if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be where I'm at. Every time I get to link with him, I thank him every day because we used to work together, and got off work one day, went to the homie's house, bought a sack, and then bought another one instantly because I'm like, I know I'm gonna need another one, and ended up, doing my thing. And thanks to him, my cousin Lando, shout out Lando. It wasn't for him, like, I really wouldn't have been the stoner I am. But like growing up, we always had like a bottle of alcohol with some herbs and a little weed in there. So when you roll your ankle, that was the secret sauce. You put that in there. So it's always kind of been around. It was always taboo in a Latino household, but like, it's part of my DNA.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. I understand that too. Once you start the plant, once you begin that relationship, it's a lot of us, it becomes a lifelong thing pretty quickly after that.
Oh
yeah. When did you get started with CalGreen?
So I started here in 18. So right at the precipice of when 215 was becoming 6'4", and got the call and instantly said yes. Left the bank world after 13 years of doing that headache, and again, beyond grateful to be able to land in this spot. It's a legacy store here. We've been around since 2005. Truly, it was one of the first licenses ever issued in California, and back in the day, it was all compassion. We were truly collective. We came in here, got educated, trimmed. Depending on the day, you left with either an eighth or an ounce, depending how it was. And it was just, the good old days, what I would say now, abundance of different types of flour, not just gelatos like today, but the beauty of how everyone would come together, learn, share, and then, the strain garlic, it's originated here. So you got to see the beginning of some of the beauty that's now, all over California.
Absolutely, yeah. Being in Goleta, that's right in that like Santa Barbara pocket where there's obviously a lot of not just cultivation for cannabis, but there's a lot of agriculture in general in that area, and it's been one of the areas that jumped on cannabis cultivation at scale, pretty quickly. So I'm just curious with that, like, what's your relationship with growers in the area? Is it pretty a symbiotic relationship with kind of local growers and local dispensaries, or is it more just kind of rocking with people all over the state?
I rock with everybody all over the state. I mean, we do carry some of the products in our backyard. I mean, it's hard not to. Santa Barbra is a town that I'm heavily invested in. I mean, 805 beer, 805 clothing, all this stuff here. Like, very prideful of our area code here, but also everyone loves to invest. At the beginning it was Glass House, Autumn Brands. You got Josh D Farm out here. You got tons of people. You got Headwaters. You name it. Pacific Stone, Raw Garden, all in the backyard. Those are all, like you said, they were in the beginning of it. It jumped off at the right time, and some of those became staples. Like Raw Garden became, I would call them the Coca-Cola. Everybody knew who they were. They're known damn near everywhere. The packaging stands out, and we do have that symbiotic relationship where I've gone and shot at some of the grows here, and it's just beautiful to see how much Santa Barbara Carpinteria, this area, has invested in this plant, and you have to have a little love for the locals. You have to give a little love, but like with you guys, man, I try to bring the best of the best. You guys, I kind of look at Bay Area, LA. I'll look at, shout out Millie at Strain, and the homies at Thai, at all the other shops where, we're all in this together, so I love to see what's coming out new and try to bring it here. We're in a weird pocket, like you said, we're not quite NorCal, we're not quite Central Coast, we're like a little bit north of LA, so you got to keep those people happy. So you got to have that that consistency of high quality and turning it around because people like new stuff. So I just try to keep my ear low to the ground, and luckily by connecting with people like Joey and yourself, I get to hear what's up and coming and new, and then jump on it before I try to be ahead of the curve.
Oh man, I love you gotta stay tapped in, and another unique part about Santa Barbara is, man, it's one of the most beautiful places like on the planet. First off, it's a beautiful place. I get the hype of why people want to live there, but alongside that, the cost of housing is crazy. So you have this crazy mix of people that have come from there, that are your working class folks, and then obviously to afford to move there, if you want to move there because you enjoy it, you're coming with deep pockets. So what does that do for your guys? What do you have to take into account when purchasing for a store that kind of addresses such a wide economic gap of demographics?
I always say this to people. Bud Light sells, Budweiser sells. So there's always that. There's a little something for everybody. It's good, better, best. There's always. The pendulum swing has always been when I started smoking at 15, a sack was still $50. Nowadays it's all full circle, and now it's still $50, but 12 of those dollars are taxes now. So it's a different thing. It's crazy how it's gone from there to there. But we carry it. I gotta consider everyone because everyone's important. Everyone needs healing. We were talking right before the jump. This is it's medicine. It's always been medicine. We're medical when it first started, and even though legalization has happened, it still heals people. So we got to have a little bit of everyone because we still do compassion as much as we can. We ask brands to provide stuff. So there's people who are down their luck, lost their jobs, XYZ, and we'll make sure they leave out here, with paying a penny, a dollar, but they'll leave with some stuff. We've always been about that because the good karma always comes back, especially in this town or just in general in this industry. Back to your question, though, I got it everything from yada yada all the way to blueprints and alien labs. So you're talking $10 Aves all the way to $70 Aves. We got a market for everyone and margin for everyone, and everyone leaves happy, hopefully.
Yeah, I mean, it's a the cannabis in general is such an inclusive activity, right? Like the type of the cannabis consumer covers everything, all ranges, all socioeconomic backgrounds, other interests, right? There's so much there, and so I know that's what purchasing in general for cannabis is difficult, especially in an area like Santa Barbara where you have such a wide gap of audiences. I'm sure between your average blue collar working folks that are from there, and then the people that are moving there with money, right? It's I come from a different state, but somewhat similar, not near as a premier destination that folks are moving to, but on a smaller scale, the same type of thing happens, and I know that makes it difficult. So when customers are coming in, do you feel like there's kind of common questions that you're seeing from customers out there, or are those questions kind of still ranging across the spectrum from your educated consumers to your newbies?
Absolutely. The most common question is still, what's the highest THC? And this is where now we're trying to, literally on our board that we have outside a chalk wall, we have different terpenes to try to just point at people to be like, look, if you like smoking this, well, it has myrcene, or this has pinene, it has limonene. These are the things that you're enjoying. So when you look for that, don't just look for the THC, look for the terp profile too. So we're trying to change that perspective too, because you can go buy 100 proof bottle of alcohol, or you could go get a cheaper bottle of alcohol. It's still going to get you certain way, but you're not going to go spend $100 because it's a higher THC or volume, or percentage of proof. So we're trying to now really educate the consumer as to what they're putting into their body. I'm bringing in more rosin gummies. I'm bringing in more of this, more of that. Again, changing the distillate, educating, because again, at the end of the day, they're only going to save money if you're smoking what you actually like to smoke or eat. Then at that point, you're not wasting your money on distillate or eating a bag of gummies and I didn't get high. Well, let's see what you did, what you have, what your intake, what are you eating with that too? So we really want to educate people, especially here where we have, again, like to your point you said earlier, we literally have everything from 18-year-old medical to 78-year-old people coming in on the regular. And those are the ones that are two extremes, and one's coming in for actual wellness. They want to sleep, they want to feel good, they don't want to have all those aches and pains. So with that, you literally have to tell them, keep your board, keep a little log, time it, do this, do that, like really consume, like take care of what you're consuming, know what you're consuming, so that you don't feel like you wasted your money. I always hear people like, "Why I ate the whole thing, I didn't get high." Well, did you feel this? Yes. Well, your tolerance might be this, but the wellness is working. The actual medicine is working. I mean, we're trying to really put that out there. So I ask brands all the time, start putting your terpene profile, start doing this, start doing that, so we can collectively start educating everyone, not just asking us for what's the highest THC. And then the other question is, what's the BOGO? So we've created a culture now. I always say, like, I hate to say it, like, we gave stray cats milk, I'll say sometimes, and then the cats keep coming back. So unfortunately, like in this world, we created a culture where it's not a bad thing, but it's a different perspective where you don't go to a store and be like, oh, I bought a 6-pack, give me a 6-pack. We created a different culture, unfortunately, and we have to re-educate people too. Like, it's not the more, it's what you're actually intaking. And with that, those two are the most common questions. Other than that, it's what do you like? When they hear that I'm the purchaser, they be like, what are you smoking on? So then I gotta be real, like smoking on some traditional later, they hook it up, and definitely gonna be smoking on some RMR dedication. I love the orange triangle cookies, and for that, like your brand, not just because we're on the show, but your brand and Joy's brand is my top selling SKU next to Hotbox. And
there we go.
And no cap, no lie, I can show you guys analytics. People love your stuff. I love to be able to support you guys and see the growth, from a small mom and pop, essentially operation to get there. Because again, at the end of the day, all those questions that they have, it's going to be like, whatever money you got in your pocket, I'm going to make sure you leave with the best for it, regardless of THC, regardless of BOGO. I want to make sure you're happy. And that's the main thing I try to get across to consumers and my staff. Make sure everybody leaves happy, because at the end of the day, we want them to return. We don't want to leave any bad impression, like anything. We want to make sure that customer, that patient leaves satisfied, and happy with the goodie bags that they're working out with.
Yeah, I love that. It's funny you said we created this culture of BOGOs. Like I'm in California a lot, but I live in Washington where the BOGO isn't allowed in our regulations. So you don't see it, you don't have it. Customers aren't conditioned to it. And going to California, like as a marketer, it's nice because then you have like you can make really good, compelling offers to get people in. But to your point, we constantly see that across clients or just across the market, right? Like, there's a big section of customers that only want BOGOs, right? And it's like, and a lot of BOGOs aren't profitable. So you have a big section of consumers that are only going to buy something that's not even making anybody money. I mean, they obviously are winning at the end of the day, but nobody else in the supply chain is.
100%. When brands come up and they say they offer this BOGO, I'm like, well, why don't you just lower your price? Why don't you're giving me double the product at this point? And we're both, like you said, we're eating our margins at that point. There's no real growth. And again, California is still trying to get an understanding of it. Like we've gone full pendulum swing back. When I first jumped in, we were exactly what taxes are going to be in May. We were already doing that before. It took 5 years for us to re-educate the state to realize that this is being done in a certain manner that's not right. And now again, I say we're constantly changing the tire in a moving car in this industry. And I wish they would listen to us a little more and be in here to see our day-to-day, to see how much it affects us, and the taxation of it is just ridiculous. I can talk about the time blue in the face, but that culture of moves people back to the black market too. That's the other thing, or the legacy or traditional market, however you want to call it. And that's the unfortunate part, because now we're not sure if we're giving people PM, mold, all this other stuff, and it's the consumer's gonna always go back for what their pocket is, and in the street, I know the trapper ain't giving you a BOGO, and that's where they want to now come back, and we're getting this, and it'll be a few more years till we evaluate everything and truly see that, because at the end of the day, like, it hurts brands, it hurts brands all the time, and again, I really wish we would just be able to lower the taxes so we can help each other. I mean, it has to go to some permanent compassion to back people up. But it's sad to see how much. We just read an article. I want to say it was 70% of the licenses here did not renew to grow,
Right.
And that's massive. That just shows you again where the climate is right now. And it's for me. I always tell people, can you bring me something that's not gelato? just bring me something that's not gelato. Everything in this world is now immersing in gelato. You know, I miss the old school stuff, the different poisons, the Jacks. We used to have a pineapple freezer here, GDP. Shout out Alien Labs, are doing a great Y2K. That ah, fantastic, you know. But it's interesting again how things keep shifting back to what it used to be, you know. And I'm hoping we get it right in the next couple of years because we need it. We need to survive because if not, this whole industry can collapse.
And on that note too, because like I'm a gelato fan, but I also like always have to give the precursor where I'm like, yo, please don't throw me in that bucket. I just generally like the strain. I think it's really good, but I do acknowledge it's overdone and
Yeah.
and it's out there. What's your thoughts on like, you know, from or looking at brands, what do you think is like kind of a successful setup for a flower menu in terms of what strains you got to hit and like how many different options do you think ideally one brand should offer?
I mean, it all varies too, like where the brand is trying to actually launch at. You know, if you're trying to go massive all at once, well, just be aware that not every strain sells. You know, and people, I always say start like anything, start less and go up because sativa.
See. One sec, y'all. One sec. One sec, y'all. He'll be right back. I need to get an intermission slide. Ooh. Working with these tech difficulties. One second, y'all. Louie will be back. Oh shit. Yeah, one sec, y'all. One sec. One sec. One second. Give us one sec. Our guest, we dropped out on the stream, but should be back shortly. There we go. We are talking to Louie Esquivel of CalGreen Medical. He should be back in just a second. We had a little technical difficulty. It's chopping it up about their dispensary in Goleta, California, right there in Santa Barbara. There we go.
My bad.
It's all good. We back.
Yeah. Back to the question. So how many strains to launch? I mean, I'll say like someone like No Till Kings, they got a good philosophy. I like what they do. They stick to a few and only genetics, like classics back in the team. What was it? Blue Dream, I think, OG and Auto, so like perfect what you got before you start trying to create everything else. I used to tell everyone, I know they want to get into different markets and all these different things, but like do what you do best first and then scale from there, because at the end of the day you end up sitting on product and ages and then you have to bubble it, or if it doesn't sell through, then you're going to have to ask for product to make sure and then discount. So it becomes challenging when you're trying to really launch, because everyone just goes off of other people's sales sheets. Yes, you could look at Alien Labs or Cannabiotics or Claiborne or whatever brand you want to look at. Maven, I love Maven. Like what they do is excellent. I love their stuff. That would be a perfect model. Wonder Brett's another one, where you could start here and then scale. Do what you do best and then build that brand, build your relationship, build your following, and then scale. Not everyone can be this dizzy, unfortunately. It's not a lifestyle brand. And as much as people want to do it, that's where, again, in this industry, you can give me as much swag and hats as you want. I still can't smoke that. At the end of the day, the product has to speak for itself. And regardless of what you're trying to put on this side, marketing wise, the product always has to be consistent. That's one of the things I would tell anyone who started trying to start their own brand. And back to what we just mentioned, if 70% of the cultivation is gone, then you're going to have to find somewhere to source from. And then that becomes buying just the Mylar bag, with the logo on it. There's no story behind it anymore. There's a story from the person selling you the bag, but they're not the person actually putting the love into that flower. At this point, it's just, again, getting it out. It's lost a little bit of that love that we have. So that's why, going back to it, I'd love to invest in small little mom and pop sometimes, because they still tend to that plant like it should. They're not growing it in a room with 400 plants and the quality control, and you're not growing what it can be and what it should be. You're just trying to get it out there, testing it for the highest THC and get it out. So if you don't care about your brand, it'll show in the numbers. People won't buy it.
Absolutely. And past that, you mentioning like what consumers want most, right? You mentioned like what they ask most, high THC BOGO, right? Which kind of underlines the mass consumers want high THC weed for the cheapest price possible, right? And different people have their own filter of what's cheap or how much they're willing to pay, right? And I think at the end of the day, we're all looking for the best at whatever our budget is. Whether about sneakers, cars, weed, it doesn't really matter. What do you think when it comes to weed past just THC and pricing? Are people looking to brands first, or are they looking for strains first? Are they looking at indica, sativa first? What do you think is that next thing that people are looking at more than THC and price?
It's a little combination of all three that you mentioned. You got your true head will come in. Like we got Real Deal Resonant not too long ago, right? Finally brought it in. As soon as that landed on Weed Maps, I had 3 different people come in right away, because again, they're looking for that specific brand. So glad that we were able to provide that for them. But it is a mix of like you got your heads, you got you I hate to call them this, but you got your clout chasers, that want to go out there. As soon as that strain drops, they want to go out there and be the first to get it. But at the same time, it's a little combination of brand and strain, and then the effect for sure. Most people in this world want indica, and I'm a sativa head. I love to be up here, creative, and go energetic. I can't be too slim during the day, especially doing operations and day-to-day activities. So indica makes me a little too introvert, but at the same time, where I'm at now, I'm being behind this desk. I see where all these genetics have been already so crossbred, everything's a little hybrid, and that's why I go back, look for the terpenes, what's in there, because at this point, you have to really educate yourself and not just believe that the brand that put that out there. You may like cookies, or you may like, Jungle Boys or these, but at the same time, like look for what the lineage is truly. You got to start getting educated, and at that point, because I'll trick people all the time and be like, roll a joint, roll a blunt, we're smoking. Like, what is this? I can't do indica. I'm like, just smoke it. Just shut the fuck, just smoke it. And finally they smoke it and like, this is great. I'm like, it's indica, or like it was sativa, like, oh, yes, it's one of those things too. It's placebo effect at times, because the customer always wants, like you said, the highest THC for the price. Doesn't matter. But at the end of the day, if you, I hate to say it, but I do the announcer interviewer question, like where I'll ask them what they want to feel and their effect, and then I'll try to guide them with that strain as much as I want to tell them, like, you got to try this. Like, well, that's sativa, but everything you told me how you want to feel is what a sativa does. So I can't pull an indica out of like a hat and be like, oh, here you go. There's a magical indica that has all these tones that you like, but it's going to give you an uppity effect, and then it becomes everyone's endocannabinoid system at the end of the day. Like my wife's inverted. I call her inverted. Our ownership, one of our owners here, he's inverted. He smokes indica and it keeps him up and wired. He's going. My wife, sativa, she's sleep. If she smokes indica, she's up and going. It's like it all depends too on the individual. At the end of the day, too, this is where it goes back to re-educating, knowing what you like, and yeah, man. At that point, I love to trick people. Like go back, and then they'll come back and be like, "Yo, that was actually really good. What else do you recommend?"
And that's a great, bud tending and just customer experience, right? To be able to guide people and put people onto products. And then, like you said, the important part about that feedback loop is then purchasing something and then coming back and then being like, you know what, I like this about it. I didn't like this about it. Or, you know what I mean? Giving that feedback so then you can be like, all right, because that is, you're absolutely right? There is certain components of educating on these products and what the anticipated effects are. But it's also like any other substance. It's the way people take that in and the effects that they feel from it are going to completely vary from person to person. So it's important to provide that education, provide that experience, but then also have that feedback loop of them coming back in and being able to, say, this is what I felt. And then it gives you guys the ability to be like, oh, okay, now I got a better insight. At what point do you feel like on customer visits, if you're making recommendations and they're just coming in on, say, a weekly cadence, at what point do you feel like you're like, I got this person down, and I'm gonna be able to get them right every time?
I don't want to sound too arrogant, but after the first time, for me, and then, but it's because again, I've just been doing it so long, and being in other industries where again you learn how to read a room, you learn how to read people. I used to get open accounts at a bank, and you get everybody's background. You get from the dishwasher to the multimillionaire. So you learn how to associate and read that body language. So again, asking them what they want to feel, what they're trying to achieve, because I don't like calling that high to euphoria, so when you build that, for me, it's usually after the first encounter with them, but by the third encounter, they're not even looking. They're like, what should I get? They're like, definitely. And then not just that, then my staff sees that, we already know we'll see someone coming in and that guy's here for indica. So make sure you don't even suggest a sativa. You come in here right away, indica. That guy's a dabber. Don't even suggest flower. You start getting to know their patterns. And I always in their cadence, like you said. And then we have tools. We have tools. Check the stats. What do they buy? What do they like to buy? And we're a small enough crew here where it's almost like family. It is family, I should say. And so is our clientele. We have some amazing clients bring us donuts, bring us sweets. That we have the rapport with them, and again, we're fortunate to be able to again be in a small town like this where you see them down the street later. Like I'll run into them at the public market. I'm down the street, and then fortunately, to be able to be in the industry I am and always have abundance of samples. So I'd love to give it out to service people, who are working because they're on their feet all day. They're grinding, and then to the people who are down their luck, Santa Freeway, boom, here you go, But again, it's true community. I'll go to a bar, I go to a restaurant, and then you see our clientele, and it's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing.
And on that, right, like, being in a small town, what are some of those things besides, building those relationships with the people? What are some of the ways that or things that you guys have to do to be successful in a smaller market with an industry where margins are thin, right? Like when you look at a dispensary in LA or like you said, the Bay earlier, they're seeing potentially thousands of customers a day, right? Like it's large. It's easier to get to margins, although I know rent is skewed, so nobody necessarily has an easy path. But what are some of those other elements that you guys have to adhere to or live by to make sure that you guys are successful in a smaller market?
Man, guerrilla marketing. To be honest with you, it's like literally we're in the trenches down there. Again, with again knowing the community here, I call myself the undeclared mayor. You know, it's a little brag and boast, but because I know so many people from photography, from banking, from this industry, and just being out there, there's tons of charity events in town. You know, the Cancer Society meetings, all this fun stuff. You know, fiestas here, being able to help out, but just knowing the people. Like for me, I love to hang out and meet like the chefs, the cooks, all this. And once you have them, you know, they it's, good word of mouth spreads, bad word of mouth spreads faster. So you know, you always want to avoid that, and being able to again have product like I'll go do influencer programs, you know, where I'll partner with either bartenders or restaurant individuals or this, and you send me people, I send you people, you know, so it's a true referral program here, you know, and because it's hard, everyone has similar products. At the end of the day, it's pricing, and we can't underprice everybody or ourselves all the time, you know. Again, like you said, the margins are thin enough. You know, we all got to pay rent, got to pay our people, got to pay you guys, you know, got to pay vendors. So it's tough, but I mean, being able to go out and literally meet with the people, talk to them, and bring them in, you know, that's the toughest part. Because again, anyone can look at weed maps now and see like, oh, it's $20 over here, I'm gonna go there, you know, and that's what they're doing. So, I mean, I still have family that goes to other dispensaries because it's a 10-minute drive to come to Goleta. You know, so it's one of those things that like I want to choke. I'm like, come on, man, you go and paying 3 times more down there. You come support your boy, you know. But it's convenience too, so I get it, you know. But even with that, again, it's just literally like trying to do referral programs, rewards for reviews, raffles. I mean, just the things that we try to always do that we did before, and again, pendulum swing back to getting it. I mean, we didn't have to do review coupons for your bag to get another dime bag, you know. But now, we'll give $10 off if you review us on Weed Maps and review us on Google. Got to get out there to get those analytics up and get people coming in.
And obviously, you mentioned leveraging weed maps, which is a huge part of the culture of California. And then earlier you said, looking at data and certain tools to just analyze sales and customers. What are some of those tools that you're using at the retail level to look at stats and analytics?
Well, right now we're using Blaze. We used to use Trees, and I mean, both of those give you great data as to that. And then I'm nosy. I'll go look at other dispensaries menus and see what's moving, see what they got and what I got, compare, but essentially, it's looking at that. Every once in a while, I mean, we have brands that come in and show us their analytics. Like I just had a Fruit recently, like stop in. They were showing us their trees analytics and how they're the number one selling in a lot of categories now, and that's impressive to see how, again, a product that I say looks like something that belongs in like a CVS because of the bags and how it looks, but it's cranky. I mean, people enjoy it. I love the taste of the candy. It tastes just like liquor store candy that we grew up with, and now it has that good effect. Yeah, I mean, it's you got head stash, you got all these other analytics, but at the same time, I always go like I don't want to sound too rude, but it's like, yes, those things are selling, but at the end of the day, I know what sells here. So you can tell me that Pacific Stone and Dime Bag and all these things are selling and all these, but at the end of the day, it goes back to what we were discussing: price point, high THC, price point. It's not the quality. So if you look at our menu again, we got I pat myself in the back to be able to have everything again from Henry's here locally to LA Fruit Cart. That's my boy George. Shout out George, where he's doing pressed infused weed, where he's doing a gram of shatter already on the Cure Lotto flower. So you're talking about, I don't like to always quote percentages, but you're talking about 51% THC, and that one is truly like a hitter. So using the individuals, like my network is my net worth. So when people come through this desk and they tell me this is moving, so you got the actual human and the salesperson telling you, plus you got these tools again, Blaze, Acorn Analytics, you got all these things that beautiful to see. But at the end of the day, we're Santa Barbara. We're not LA. We're not the Bay. I don't have the same demographic pool, so I have to scale back on certain things and realize, like, you know, cookies doesn't sell here. We're not LA. Cookies are gonna sell here. It's a little more pricier than most of the other flour, but they do have a following. But just because an analytic told me it's selling, I'm not going to bring it in. Still, I have to make that judgment and decision to make sure I keep the right product on the shelf for my like our local pool. A little bit of that.
Absolutely. And with that, right? Like, obviously, I know you said you like to support the smaller farms, and once a brand's in the store, if it's got to move for it to be a successful thing. But what does it take for the brands that do approach you? What are those things that help get them on the show?
One, the product has got to be good. It's got to stand, and then having people like Joey, and yourself who they don't just sell. You guys don't just sell. You guys are trying to grow and build us together. So when that relationship is reciprocated, that's where I want to invest more in that individual. So sometimes you take an L. You take an L. We're gonna try this. It didn't work. A lot of people believe in their brand. I always tell them everyone loves their kid. Everyone thinks their kid's special, and unfortunately, they're only that special to you. To that individual. As much as we want to say yes, that is, but at the same time, we're like, hey, you know what? Maybe he's not going to play NFL. Maybe he's not going to do this. Maybe do something else, But again, everyone believes in there, and I want to believe in their product too. So at times, you got to take a risk and an opportunity on someone. And it's usually the person, it's how the person does their sales approach. Because when I ask people, like, if they're sourcing, I'm like, where are you sourcing from? And if they don't know right then and there, I'm like, if you don't know your product, you don't know the quality, you're not doing this, so you're a salesperson. I get it, but like, you should know your product if you're going to sell me on it.
Yeah, that's facts. That's facts right there. Man, Louie, well, I really appreciate your time today, man. For people out there that want to tap in with CalGreen, man, it's CalGreenMedical.com, 164 Arrow Camino, Goleta, California. If you want to pull up on them in person. Anything else you want to plug before I get you up out of here, man?
Nah, man, I just want to thank you guys. I want to plug y'all, man. You need it, come get it. We got it right here, live in front, and we just got the new half ounces right here. Boom, 75 out the door. Let's get it. Gas on gas. If people don't know about you guys' stuff, they should already know. I know it's under Respect My Region, but I hope everybody else is tapping in. No, best fucking price right here, man. No joke. Nice because I'm on it. Like Bud Tender to tell you, come in and see it. Guarantee you guys will be happy with some Respect My Region. Now, the legacy, excellent. I appreciate you guys. Appreciate Joey. Thank you guys. Other than that, man, tap in with us anytime.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. Humbled by that, Lou. I'm not going to plug myself out here. You did it. You did it for me.
Doing it enough. Let's go. Appreciate you guys, man. Keep doing the good work.
So if you guys are in Goleta, you can pull up and get that RMR Legacy Smalls at CalGreen Medical, obviously. Or if we're not your flavor, they got other stuff there too, man. It doesn't have to be just about us, but pull up on them and check that out.
Let's go. Appreciate you guys, man.
All right, man. If you're watching on YouTube, right underneath Louie, man, the subscribe button. Make sure to hit that. Leave a comment, even if it's hate. If you got something to say about me and my chin strap, man, I've seen those before. Let them fly, man. We'll embrace all that. Appreciate everyone tapping in. We'll be back with more content next week.